Warning, warning. This is a global ice out. Testing the right speaker. Right. Testing the left speaker. Left. Sound successfully recovered. Swan Commander. Connected. And now, the countdown has begun. And now, are you ready for a journey that goes beyond the norms? The Federal Prospects Hockey League just celebrated its 15th anniversary. With a footprint and fan base rapidly expanding, Swan Hockey is now bringing you behind the scenes. Beyond what you see at games. Beyond the arenas. Beyond the crowds. This is FPHL, Beyond the Glass.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of FPHL Beyond the Glass. I'm your host, Eric Swanek, Swan Commander on social media. If you're new here, welcome. We are ripping through the FPHL. This is the official podcast of the Federal Prospects Hockey League, and we are taking you behind the scenes, to your favorite teams, favorite rivals, the league itself. We got an awesome episode here coming up. Also, if you're new, we have a really cool Swan Hockey digital experience, including our rewards program called Season Pass. You can earn reward points for doing things such as streaming these podcast episodes. You can, it's completely free to sign up. You could sign up with just an email at swanhockey.io. You could earn points, claim rewards. Again, for, doing everyday things such as streaming these podcast episodes or buying merch. If you any SH360 purchases, which is our merch store, any purchases there have season pass points attached to them. So again, check that out. Completely free to join. And this episode, we are going to sit down with Don Kirnan, the commissioner of the FPHL, and we're going to talk about expansion and the brand new expansion team in Minnesota that was announced. We are also going to sit down with Everett Thompson. He was on last week, and then he told me that he's like, I got to come back on when we win our first game. And then I'm like, all right, yeah, sweet. Next game, they put up a 9 spot and beat Port Huron 9-3. So he's back. We're going to catch up with these two. Let's do it. What's going on, Don? How are you?
Very good.
Yeah. Can't believe we're in, this is week 6 review. We're starting week 7 of the league now. As I was just creating the titling and everything here on the back end. I'm typing in week 6. I'm like, geez, time is flying.
Yes, it goes fast. We had a really good last weekend. I believe everybody split. So there's a lot of parity in the league, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, Indiana getting their first win, putting up 9 on the scoreboard. I didn't expect to see 9, but
no, that's
it's great for those guys. All right, expansion. We got a new expansion team in the FPHL going to uncharted territory. One of the biggest, if not arguably the biggest, historically, hockey states in the United States into Minnesota. So the league is being embraced by arguably historically one of the biggest, if not the biggest, states of hockey in the country. Let's talk about it.
Sure. I went to 3 or 4 different sites in Minnesota, maybe 2.5, 3 months ago. And the one that stuck out as the best opportunity was a building that was the Baby Ralph. They have the larger building. The Ralph is in North Dakota. And this building's about 3,600 seats. And it's was used in the Superior League maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, and they were in that league for 2 or 3 years, and there was a lot of support for the Superior League in that facility, but they were looking for something that would be a focal point for that facility. And so, in talking to the mayor, which was very supportive, and the city basically supports the facility. They have some major corporations that are within a couple miles of that facility, DigiKey and Articat, and several others. And after going there a second time, and then just recently a third time, it was my opinion that it would be best to to do a nonprofit type of situation so that the community could embrace the team. And I believe that that's the way it's going to be set up, and the community is 100% behind the team, and everybody really wants hockey there. So it's going to be a great place to play. The players will have a wonderful time. They haven't had a team, a minor league team in Minnesota, I think, in 30 years. So we expect a lot of positives from that location. So we're very excited with, and we think there'll be a lot of players from Minnesota that will want to play there. And we certainly have players from Minnesota in the league now, but I believe it'll be a destination for all the players, that are finishing their junior career or college career that want to, stay closer to home.
Yeah, I could see that team being like half of like, hometown kids. When I say hometown, I mean from the state. I wouldn't even be surprised if it's more, but I could definitely see that being half, half homegrown kids.
Yeah, and it's one of the closest teams to Topeka that we have, which I believe that's the closest opponent that they have right now. And
okay.
So we, that helps Topeka a little bit, and there should be a good rivalry between Topeka and Minnesota.
Yeah, absolutely. And the ownership structure or the nonprofit and everything, you compared it, to me, you compared it to kind of like the Green Bay Packers in the NFL. Do you want to expand a little bit on that?
Yeah, like I said before, we had a Green Bay had the support, and many years ago, it was determined that an ownership structure similar to where the community owns the team is really worked in a smaller town that could compete in the NFL. This particular location in Minnesota, there are major corporations that would want to help the community as a quality of life issue. And I believe that we do have, major corporations right now helping other teams. But I believe the corporate backing in this particular location lends itself to a nonprofit. It'll work much better. And I think it'll be a family type of operation with the community embracing it. And I believe that they won't have to really worry about losing the team, which is a big concern, for places like this. So and they're still taking it hard, losing their junior team. They really didn't want to lose the junior team. There were some certain things. Of course, COVID hurt them a lot, and it was interesting how deeply affected they are losing their junior team. So they don't want to lose this team, and I know a lot of people have already expressed a willingness to help in any way, and we think that this is the best road for this team, and hopefully it'll be one of the stronger teams. Geographically, it's a challenge, but we expect other teams. We expect some other teams in the Midwest to come in. We're talking to some other places, So I think we will be able to find some closer opponents to them. But that's one of the major issues that we're going to have to deal with. Their transportation will have to be dealt with, and that's the last part of the equation, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, I've said it for a long time, like well before this show started, and I said it on the first episode of the show. I think that this league could go coast to coast one day. I don't know when one day is, but I think it can. I mean, like it's what the league has been doing has been working, and I mean, the league's always, the league always finds a way to make it work, right? Like, yeah, sure, there's speed bumps along the way, there's some disappointments here or adversity here and there, but I mean, I don't think there's ever been another single A league that's covered as much ground as this league has and expanded how this league has. And, even with the expansion, like it can't just be one guy like yourself, like, oh, I want to expand, right? There's got to be a lot of people that believe in it and approve of it and want to do it, right? Down from, the other members and, owners, sponsors, fans, like everybody has to embrace it, which everybody has in pretty much every location. Like it can't just be one guy saying, hey, I want to expand, right? Like the fans have to buy in, the community has to buy in, like everybody has to pretty much kind of put their stamp on it, which has been happening in this league. And it's been happening more than really any other any other league, at least at a quicker rate. And in terms of single A, I mean, I don't know if there's ever been another single A that's covered this much ground, at least not this quickly. And like I said, I don't think they've covered this much ground really ever.
Well, it's we're trying to keep the cost reasonable of operations, because obviously that's a big concern in all phases of professional sports. So we're trying to keep the cost where a building that's like 3,600 seats can sustain itself year after year after year, and that's one of the issues that we're trying to do. Obviously, we have buildings that are smaller than that right now, but we're trying to keep the operating costs where smaller markets can still sustain themselves. I don't believe that there'll be any issues in this particular market because of the fan support and the corporate support, but their major issue is going to be travel, and hopefully, within 2 or 3 years, we can find some closer teams. But currently, from what I could see, the second closest team for Topeka would be this team. So we're trying to keep that in mind for Topeka. Then we're talking actively the 2 or 3 other teams in the Midwest that might be a help geographically. But I'm very excited for what I see in Minnesota. They're crazy about hockey, similar to me. So we got along very well, and I think it's one of those things where and I said during the press conference, my mother told me 50 years ago that someday I would grow out of being sports crazy. And then 40 years ago, she said, forget everything that I said, you're never going to grow up. And so I basically hit it off with the people in Minnesota. They're really into hockey, and similar to what you would see in a Canadian city. So it's
Yep.
really so I think it's really going to work. I think the fans will enjoy the league. I think the players will enjoy it. I think it'll work out very well. We have a lot of things put into place. The one and only thing right now is just the transportation, which we'll be trying to facilitate that, and I think it's going to work out very well. Everybody wants a team, and everybody's very excited. So I think it'll be a model operation, in my opinion. It might be replicated again, the way this went together, but the type of people that are supportive of this is unique, in my opinion. They were more open for this than any community that I've actually seen. So that's why I felt that this would be the best avenue for this.
Yeah. And how long has this been in the works?
About 3 months. We've about 3 months been going back and forth with the building manager. The mayor has been very instrumental in putting this together, but there's been a tremendous corporate support that has just stepped forward and said, we want to do whatever we have to do to make it work. And that's why we kind of went in this direction. So it's all the things are in place. We have some, I think some tremendous advantages in being there. And I think um, I think it's going to work very well.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I mean, like I said, putting a team in, what's, one of the biggest hockey hotbeds in the country. It's awesome. And I don't think like, might sound easy, but like, it's not easy. Like that's like it's hard. Like especially like a place like Minnesota where there's a lot of hockey going on. They're big into high school hockey and everything. For them to embrace the league. I mean, there's like we've talked about, it's a very entertaining and unique brand of hockey. And I think that's huge to have a place like Minnesota that's, embracing the league and saying like, yeah, like we want this here.
Yes, it's going to, I think, open some eyes. It'll open up some other opportunities. We know that there's some other possibilities that are closer that that once they see this and how it works, I think it will open up some eyes, and it'll create some other opportunities. Again, we're at a price point, in operations where smaller communities can actually make it work. Our budget is such that we we can get into a building that's less than 5,000 seats and still make the numbers work. And I think that that's the advantage that we have. Um, as far as the business model that we have. So that opens up some opportunities. And obviously, the size of this building, even though it's like 3,600 seats, it doesn't really lend itself to other professional leagues where it's located and so on. So it's um, and the only league that made any sense for them, I thought, was the Superior League, which is the one that's closest to them. But it's for whatever reason it didn't work out, and so they're limited as to what they could do. And I think that this is an opportunity that'll work well for us, work well for them, and we expect other communities to look at what we did here and see if it'll work for them. And I and we want to try to give more players opportunities to continue playing. Obviously, with 14 teams right now, and last weekend we had a situation where I think every team that played, they split. So we're getting some parity in the league. So we're trying to make things work so that everybody has a chance to win every weekend, and that's the whole idea of a league, is that anybody can win in anybody's game. So and that's what we're happy the way last weekend worked out.
Yeah, it's awesome to see that. Do you want to talk about kind of like the expansion process, or I don't know how much you want to get into it, but in terms of what that process looks like when either the league is like, hey, we want to look at adding a team, or somebody approaches the league saying, hey, we want to inquire about adding a team. Like, what's that whole process like from where it starts to where we are today with Minnesota?
Well, it's like all the other leagues. You're looking at the ownership group. What would be the right structure? We're looking at the size of the building. We're looking at the proximity to other teams, and does it add value to our other members? And those are things that we look at. It's a one of the things. Each team is, in each situation is different. Um, we've been you know, we've had commitments in the past from certain teams that they were going to expand, and then they didn't expand, and sometimes they have. So those are things that, you know, we've ran into some problems in the past. So we're kind of at this point, I guess, unless we've seen it happen, we're not going to bite on any places for expansion, unless the building is already big enough right now to go forward. So we've you know, geography is the biggest problem right now. You know, we've had inquiries, you know, from teams outside our footprint, and we've said no to a number of teams that are just not, you know, it's not practical. And so, you know, one of these days, you know, we might get further west. You know,
Telling you, coast to coast.
but we, you know, we were looking at the building. We're looking at the proximity to other teams. Of course, you know, the financial structure of the ownership and what their, you know, what their ideas are. There's quite a, you know, we look at the East Coast League as a phenomenal league, but their budget is substantially higher than our budget. So there are teams that can't sustain themselves in the East Coast League that can sustain themselves in our league. You know, for example, Binghamton is could survive, you know, in the East Coast League, but they're currently drawing, you know, on the average 1,500 more fans than when they were in the American Hockey League. So, you know, that's a unique operation. It's very well run. And there's, you know, they're very happy. Obviously, they've won the last 2 years, and they're very happy the way things are going. But that's a city that, you know, can certainly, you know, perform in a higher league. You know, and that's one of the things that we look at is, and, you know, we have some other teams that perhaps could survive in a higher league, but most of our teams could not. And, but they still want to, you know, the fans and the community is looking for something to support. And that's what we're trying to do, is trying to create family entertainment at a reasonable cost. And we've reached areas that haven't had hockey in the past. We're in PD that hasn't had hockey in a couple of decades. Last year, we were Monroe that hadn't had hockey in a couple of decades. So we're trying to, you know, make ends meet in those markets where they're very difficult to survive in, and they were abandoned, you know, 20 years ago, and you know, for various reasons, for a lot of reasons, and so those are the things that we can do. I know that the numbers are good in both of those places, but if you're going to double or triple the operating budget, then they wouldn't be able to open. So those are kind of places we're trying to find that that can work, and you know, we can move to those places and survive. And that's and we got thousands of people that are happy that we're in those areas. They didn't have hockey before, and it's working out very well.
Yeah, for sure. Anything you want to send us off with to end us here?
Well, we want to keep on having the fans support the league. We want more fans to attend the games. We are, you know, we're trying to spread, you know, the league around, and we, you know, it's important for fans to support their local team, because, you know, this is, you know, once you lose a team, it's very hard to get it back. And so, you know, we want to continue to you know, to support the existing teams that we have. That's the way to make the league stronger. It's not all about expansion. It's really about retaining, you know, the teams that we have.
Yeah, for sure. All right, awesome. Don, thank you very much. Congratulations on the new team. And Yeah, no, we'll be heading into weekend number 7 here. Absolutely crazy. So, but no, awesome things happening in the league. Love to see it as always. And I will catch up with you soon.
Very good. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Don. Hey guys, our new merch drop is live now on SH360. Visit 360.swanhockey.com and you can access it now. Once an item is gone, it may never return. You can also check the time capsule for older items. All SH360 purchases have season pass points attached. Just make sure that you use the same email address on SH360 as you do for Swan Hockey Digital. For more information or help with season pass, join the Discord. Everett, what's going on, man? Welcome back. We got Everett Thompson here, the head coach of the Indiana Sentinels. What's going on, Everett?
Good. Just still kind of feeding off the energy from this weekend, obviously. Just getting ready for the next coming weekend. But yeah, obviously thrilled with the results from this past weekend still.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I'm pumped. I'm flattered because I was telling everybody before during the intro, you must really love the podcast because when you're on last week, you and I had said when you guys win the first game, you're going to come back on right away. And then you wasted no time, offensive onslaught Friday night, and you're back. So I'm flattered. I appreciate it. That's
Yeah, no, a good thing to have, right? Obviously, yeah, you obviously mentioned it. Yeah, we had a good day on Friday. Power play was really clicking. That's just the game sometimes. You got to take advantage of when it's presented. So that's kudos to the guys.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously this has to be I don't want to say like a weight lifted, but maybe in a way, a weight lifted, because I feel like when you say it's like, oh, a weight lifted, it feels like you're, I don't know, like not doubt, maybe pressure, but like, I mean, you've seemed pretty confident the whole time. I mean, you've had a lot of success. Like when you were in Baton Rouge, you had success there with a team that was struggling. I mean, like I said, you wasted no time, but it's got to feel good, obviously, to get that first one and, kind of start to see the proof, right?
Yeah. I mean, you can obviously take things with perspective in some instances with what's going on, just how much change had to be done on the ice, in the front office, things like that nature. But to get the first win actually out of the way, like you said, I wouldn't say there's a lot of pressure, but it does feel like there's some weight off the shoulders of the guys. I think learning how to win, getting the first one out of the way, and then obviously Saturday, I think even looking at that, a 4-3 game, every game for the most part's been within range or some in a game that we could have somewhat kept close or won. So I think that's just, getting, like you said, the first thing off your back does eliminate some pressure a little bit there. It just kind of helps you, breathe a little bit. Now, when we get into those situations where if we have a lead again, it won't be the first time we've ever had to do it. Right. So I think that's just kind of the
feel familiar.
Exactly. Yeah, no, it's just one of those things where the more you do it, the more results you're eventually going to keep building.
Yeah, and like no slouch opponents either, right? Like, going with Binghamton last weekend, playing them close. It was your first game. I know they kind of ran it up a little bit. The second game, I think, right? But the first game, you guys were within one goal. For what was it, like, with 12 minutes left?
I mean, both games. If you really look at them, they were both 2-3 goal games. I mean, the first night we kept it really tight with them. The second night, even, it was 3-1 or 4-1 midway through the third when they got a good bounce, and they kind of, we kind of felt sorry for ourselves after that, and they kind of poured it on. But I mean, even if you look at it, it was a 3 or 4-1 game in the middle of the third period against the championship team. So I think that's just like I said earlier, that's when you're looking at the perspective things. But yeah, to go against a good Port Huron team, I mean, they're a good team. They beat Binghamton a few weeks ago. They went in the week before and swept Blue Ridge. Like, they're a good hockey team.
Yeah, like Port Huron's no slouch opponent. Like, they beat, that's what I was going to say. Like, beat Binghamton 2 weekends ago, Port Huron last weekend. And Port Huron, no slouch. I mean, I don't know, maybe one of the most underestimated teams in the league. I mean, they're, like, again, no slouch opponent. And, obviously, like, you guys have proven that you can go toe to toe with anybody in this league, right? Like, I think that question is erased now. And like I said, I think it was the letter that Gavin put out recently that the 1-goal game in Binghamton with 12 minutes left. I think that's where I got that from. I think that's what his letter said, that you guys were within 1 goal of Binghamton with like 12 minutes left in the third. But But yeah, I mean, obviously, again, like that question's erased. At least I feel like it is. I think most people would probably agree. How do you build off this?
Yeah, I mean, we got one game in Watertown this weekend. We got Port Huron again, and then we finally get our first home game next weekend. So I think it's just one of those things where it is something you've got to build off of now. You've got to keep building little stepping stones of positivity, of growth. It's inch by inch, the old school brick by brick. It's just got to be that mentality. As long as we keep building positively forward, not every result's going to be a W, but as long as we're pressing towards that, they're going to start coming more. That's the pot. And now that we've had a little taste of it, I think it's one of those things where the guys are going to want more, right?
Yeah, and I think, like I said, like not only proven to everybody else in the league that you can go toe to toe with anyone, but like I think it's important for the players, and probably you too. Like, like you've been, again, like I know you've been confident the whole time. But probably very important for the players to prove to themselves that they can do this.
100%. You said the word right there. It's confidence. Is the more confident they are, I don't care what you do in life. If you're confident or you feel like you're about to succeed and you're prepared for what you're about to do, you can probably achieve your goals. And that's just, like I said earlier, kudos to the guys. I think they're starting to really gel together. I think another thing that a little underestimated about Port Huron is they're probably one of the grittier teams in the league. Like they're really going to give you a hard game no matter what. Like in between the whistles is going to be hard. They're really going to make sure you're engaged. And I think we kind of proved we can play a game like that. It's going to be how, every game, I think every team presents a different challenge. And I think that's something we kind of went into the weekend before. Obviously, you're going into Binghamton, they're going to be very skilled, very structured. And it's one of those things you got to learn from that. But I think we learned this weekend, if we can make games a dogfight, we can stick in it and we can compete with anyone.
Yeah, for sure. And did you see, like, what was bring us inside the locker room? Like, what was the morale like? Obviously, the morale was positive, right? But like going deeper than that, what was the morale like in the locker room after that win? Did you see kind of like a switch flip, like with the guys, like, okay, we can do this, like kind of proving it to themselves, like we were talking about, or were they kind of always confident they could do this? And again, probably always having that confidence, but having the proof and proving it to themselves probably goes a long way. Like, just what was the locker room like pre-win versus post-win?
So, yeah, I mean, getting in there, getting into Port Huron, it's one of those historic buildings that's been around for a long time. It's really cool. I try to treat every game and every place we go with a similar routine. I think that's really important for them. Whether, especially it starts with morning skate, do drills that they're familiar with. That creates just, that confidence right away there. You get your good touches in. You don't want to throw too many new things at them. We'll go over the system packet. And then, after the game, I think it was with just how young, and I hate to say this word, but how inexperienced we are probably at this level. I think, like you said, it just is one of those things where it really proves to the guys in the room that they belong. I think it's one of those things where when you're not getting the results right away, it is kind of one of those head scratchers, like every weekend, like, man, is this for me? Like, where now I think, these guys were pushing the pace. They were giving some good teams games. And now that you get this result, I think it kind of makes them kind of breathe a little bit here. And now they're looking at the next opponents and going, all right, maybe we can, they actually get to go and go, all right, we're going to look at that. And that's a game we can win. These are, that's an opponent now we can beat, and I think that type of confidence comes from, just like you said, getting one of the wins out of the way, just getting that pressure off your back. It gives you that ability to start looking forward at games and going, hey, maybe we can pull off we'll get 3 points here, we'll get a couple points here. And then that's just where you get the team really starts to gel together.
Yeah, and it's cool because like it's all in your head, right? Like it's perspective, like you said, where you're going into the game. Like now the guys are playing hockey. Now they're going into a game. How do we win this game instead of, oh, what's going to happen? Right? Like totally different mindset, totally different perspective, and just changes the whole way you play the games. Like that's great to, like I'm happy for these guys, right? And like walking a little taller, head a little higher, walking a little prouder. Like that's, like it's awesome. I know they, again, rocky start to say the least. Went through a little bit of, maybe extracurricular too. And then obviously some of the, media stuff that was going on. Like the guys have, they've had a little bit of a challenge, so it's nice to see everything settle down, and now they just get to play, man. Like that's great.
And, I think one of the things that people do forget is that when you do go through those types of obstacles, especially early as a team, it's one of those things where you can either fold up shop or you can really gel together and come together. And that's just what this group is doing. They're coming together. They're doing the right things. It's one of those, this is one of those leagues where you spend a lot of time together for the next couple months, and the teams that get along, they have guys that, do everything together, honestly. Someone's got to get an oil change. There's 3 or 4 guys having to stick it out and wait for it. It's just one of those types of things where, everyone's doing everything together, and it just builds a good camaraderie together. And those are the types of teams that you see win games, stick things out, and eventually, go to championships. It takes a long time to get to that. But I mean, it's one of those things where if you stay the course, those things are achievable.
Yeah. And it sounds like, I imagine everybody in your room is very bought in. I imagine everybody is very focused, and, which is kind of, it's cool because, we've all been part of teams where, you have the big win Friday, and what do? You kind of, take it light, Friday night, you're whatever, and then Saturday you get roasted, right? Where I imagine your group is very much just driven, kind of like, okay, one Friday. All right, how do we win again? Right. Like now they're playing, they're going into these games. Like, how do we win? Like imagine that's what it's like. I mean, that's pretty much, that's awesome. I mean, I'm happy for you guys. Anything you want to close with here?
Nothing big. Like I said, we got Watertown this weekend. I'm hoping that we can pull out another big 3 points here this weekend. That'd be huge for the program here. So, that's what we're looking forward to. That's one game at a time here. So thanks again for the support here, and hopefully we talk again about some more wins from the Indiana Sentinels.
Yep, absolutely. Everyone keeps supporting. And what next home game is when? End of November, right? But what's the exact date?
It would be, let me check this here real quick. It's to be exact here.
Is it the 25th or
the
24th?
28th and 29th? Oh no, sorry.
28th and 20th.
I think it's the 28th and 29th, if that's a Friday. Yeah, Friday the 28th and Saturday the 29th will be our next home games.
All right. Well, yeah, Sentinel fans, make sure you guys get out there, support. That's awesome, Everett. Congratulations again. And thanks for coming back on. And I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Eric. We'll talk to you soon.
Hey, everyone. Don't forget to join the Swan Hockey Discord server. Joining is free and gains you access to our podcast chats, giveaways, season pass discussion and help, junior hockey camps and showcase discussion, NHL on Xbox and PlayStation discussion, and more. Join today for free at swanhockey.com. There we go. Week 6 podcast in the books. Let us know what you think. Don't forget to join the Discord. And Binghamton Athens series was pretty good this weekend. I know we touched on that last week. That was going to be a battle royale. So that was a good series. Binghamton obviously responding big time. The second game of that series, as the commissioner, Don Kirnan, said, really good parity in the league. With every team, every team should have split this weekend, which is, really cool to see. Let us know what you think. Don't be a stranger. Join the Discord. We also got the Facebook group, FPHL Beyond the Glass, for those of you that are, not ready for Discord. The Facebook group's like a, kind of like a light version of it. But until next time, I'll see you guys. Peace out.
Thank you for being the best part of this episode of FPHL Beyond the Glass by Swan Hockey. We will see you soon.